Okay, good morning, everyone. It's so good to be with you this Monday. Um, we're going to talk about wisdom today, one of my favorite topics. And I thought I would just start with some of the housekeeping things. So um, Penny is here. Hi, Penny. So good to have you here. She's there to answer any questions that you have, if you can ask questions to me and she can read them out if that feels more comfortable for you, whatever feels good for you. And also we're going to use the reaction button, which is on the bottom right there. If you haven't used it before, you can raise your hand to speak. You can use emojis to cheer on other people as they speak, and however else you want to use that, that's wonderful. For those of you who are new here, my name is Carla Smith. I'm a personal transformation coach, and I started the Monday Mantra Call really as this opportunity for us to come together as community and really celebrate self-love and continue to work on and learn daily practices that we can put in place so that we are really loving ourselves at our deepest level and thriving and having the life that we want and deserve. All right, and as I said, our topic is wisdom. So I'm going to start with a little story about wisdom because this is one of the reasons that this topic is so important to me. My beautiful friend and colleague, Andrea Wochesson, is an energy coach, and she is just spectacular. And she does this wonderful thing called Akashic readings. And oh, sorry, it's called the Akashic Records, but it's a reading around your soul gifts, right? And when we did it a few years ago for me, I was fortunate enough to be given two soul gifts, one of which is inner wisdom, the other is divine wisdom, and the other is divine love. And was really one of those moments in my life when everything just kind of made sense. I have had this sense of wisdom and knowledge and all this from very little, and I hid it a lot because people always kind of made fun of me being too smart, or I was in a gifted program in high school and I was like a nerd and a geek and all of these things, right? And so I often pushed it down and pretended that it wasn't really a part of me, that I was just kind of smart, but not, not embracing the wisdom that was in me. And when that happened, when I had that reading done, it was like, just like this, okay, I can let this all out and realize that so much about wisdom is internal, right? And that we have this opportunity to push it down or really open it up, right? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Our mantra for today is, I'm growing wiser every day. I'm growing wiser each day. Oh, my mouth is not working yet. Sorry. Guys are going to be patient with me today. Yeah, so I'm growing wiser each day. So wisdom is really, by definition, a thinking process that integrates our experiences, the knowledge that we have, this opportunity for really deep understanding, our common sense, our insights into things, and good judgment. So wisdom is not just about being a smarty pants, right? Wisdom is really this piece that's about like taking all of what we perceive in the world and kind of sorting it out in a way that we show up in this really higher thinking self way, right? Wise people generally feel that life's problems can be solved. They feel optimistic when facing difficult decisions. And although intellect is a major component of wisdom, it is not enough by itself, right? It's not just about this intellect piece. So as we sort of develop our wisdom, because that's really what we get to do, we can really think about seeing the big picture, be open to learning, and have this deep self-awareness, right? And as we put those all together, our wisdom is growing. And it has these 3 different elements that I really like. The first one is cognitive. So it's what we learn, what we're willing to learn, new knowledge, and having new experiences that we integrate into ourselves. And then it's about how we reflect on the world, right? So that's that self-reflection piece, examining our situations and ourselves, right? So it's really this understanding of how we show up in the world and how the world is. And then this pro-social piece, which is how we can interact with others. So at a higher and higher level, we're showing kindness and compassion, right? So I really feel that wisdom is one of those expansive pieces in our life that we continually get bigger and better at being wise, right? I guess that's why they say, wisdom comes with age, right? All right. So here's our question for this morning. That I would love for some of you to join in on. What are some of the characteristics, behaviors, and actions you attribute to wise people? So what are some of the characteristics, behaviors, and actions you attribute to wise people? What are some of the things that you know that they have, that you can think of? Laura, go ahead. Well, morning.
They listen.
Listen, yeah.
Instead of speaking.
Good, love that. Anyone else?
We have a few comments. Patience and courage.
Patience, love those. Courage.
And they think before they speak.
And they think before they speak. I love that,
like
Joe.
That.
Yeah, think. Anyone else? When you're at your wisest, what's something that you feel like is your characteristic or what shows up for you? They have boundaries. Oh, and integrity. Love those. Anything else? It's a good thing to cultivate, right? Expansive and generous, authentic. I love that. Exclamation mark for sure.
There's another one, Carla. They can assess situations with gut and not with emotions.
Nice.
Oh, I forgot to look.
All right. Good. Laura, do you have another? No.
Yeah, I remember a quote from Nelson Mandela.
Oh,
he
yeah.
said when he watched his father at, like tribal councils, his father would always be the last to speak.
Yeah, taking it all in and really just kind of sorting through it. So not reactive, but responding, right? Love that. Thanks, Laura. Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to talk about 8 kind of practices that we can put in place that are ways for us to develop our wisdom. Because the one great thing is about everything that I share, none of it is like set in stone. There are people who, as all of the things we've talked about, optimism, great gratitude, generosity, wisdom, there are people who have this as more natural to them, but definitely all of us have this opportunity to continually cultivate and develop these things, right? Because we are all transformative, so it's possible, right? And so wisdom is not necessarily like just at a level, right? We absolutely can grow it. And that's from these daily practices, putting these things into place. Okay, so the first one is develop a beginner's mind. Love this so much. It's childlike, right? It's this idea of curiosity and wonder, because it helps us to see things with fresh eyes and openness. So part of, if I would ask the question from the other side, what do unwise people look like? Which is not very kind, so we aren't doing that. but there's this closed-mindedness, this rigidity to like thinking it only one way, right? And so when we can develop a beginner's mind, we're doing the exact opposite. We're staying so open to ideas. We are, we don't have preconceived ideas or expectations. So then this creates this endless possibilities, right? For us, this, yeah, just process instead of a, specific outcome. And instead of limiting ourselves, making assumptions and having this narrow point of view, we ask a lot of questions, are open to learning from others, and get excited about new situations, right? Even old situations. So one of the things I love about developing wisdom is that you can face the same thing, and if you have a beginner's mind, you can see it from a new perspective, even if you've been in that situation before, because you're open to it turning out differently than it did the first time, right? Or it did, times, even lots of times before. So part of the work that I do is about uncovering those patterns that we've kind of gotten stuck in, right? And looking at them with fresh eyes so that we can figure out, how can I move forward in this without it being the same old story? So we're not just keep banging our head against the wall, doing the same thing over and over. I think that's the Einstein quote, right? That the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting new results. And of course, wisdom is that we stop, and think and do something new. So that's number one. Number two, read for fun and knowledge. Books are magic. They just are. And I think now we have so many different ways of getting information. So even though reading is really critical in terms of the creativity of authors and the sort of the research and all of those things that goes into books, we can also get that from podcasts. We can also get that, from articles and interviews and all sorts of things. But I think reading is really powerful because we use a lot of our brain when we actually read, but I also use audio books. And so there's just lots of ways to get things. So it really expands our knowledge. So that knowledge piece is huge, and it helps us to feel inspired, right? When we read, because it's like, wow, it's always opens our eyes to new things. Nonfiction and fiction are equally good, really, for our brains, for us, for becoming wiser, because it helps us to, nonfiction helps us to explore new areas of interest, and then nonfiction expands our imagination, right? And so both things are really important in wisdom. Wisdom is not just about collecting facts or understanding the process of a specific research, or, do you know what I mean? It's not just this really small piece. It's not just about taking a class or whatever. It's really like we want to be able to be inspired also, right? So reading, one of the things that actual reading does, it improves our memory, it improves our vocabulary, and it improves our critical thinking skills. So you can see how all of those, the specific act of reading really changes over time the amount of, just those are all really important pieces, right? Number 3, learn to listen deeply. Thank you, Laura. Listening is such a critical and beautiful skill that we can start to really develop, right? I agree with Laura when she said, listen instead of speaking. It's one of the things that I develop each and every day. It's one of my affirmations, in fact, to listen deeply to others and myself. Communicating well is a skill that wise people continuously develop, because listening is essential for good relationships to flourish, right? In order for us to be good partners, good coworkers, good friends, good strangers. We have to be able to hear people really well. Too often we listen from a place of wanting to interject, find the space to interject our point of view, our point, our whatever we need to say, right? And so one of the things that I invite you to do is practice letting go of needing to say your point every time you're in a conversation. It is powerful just to hear people, right? There's this opportunity so some of the skills that I have developed is repeating back what people have shared so that they feel heard, right? Asking a question so that they can expand their thoughts, or just being silent and allowing them the space to just feel what it is that they've shared, right? So that they can be like, yeah, it's where insights are found, in the listening. There's this space, right, where we can absolutely figure things out by someone. If I'm saying something and I have the space to do that, it's where my insights are going to come. So it's really powerful to give the gift of listening. When we learn to listen deeply, we are able to respond in a way that is empathetic and trusting as well. And obviously those are characteristics that we also associate, with confidence, and wisdom, right? Is this ability for us to be trusting people. Go ahead, Phyllis.
Okay, thank you, Carla.
Yeah.
Is it the same as focus? That's the first question, because,
Yes.
all right. So I have a very, very difficult time listening, and I attribute it to being unable to focus.
Mm-hmm.
And I very often, because my thoughts are racing, intervene and, either state my comments or ask a question. And it's very frustrating for a lot of people when I do that. They don't like it. So do you have any hints about, besides meditation, which I do all the time, and I don't know, it doesn't seem to work with me. Any other hints on how I can be a better person by focusing?
Thanks, Phyllis. This is a great question. So listening, part of listening definitely is developing focusing skills, right? And I want to just say we're all on a continuum, right? Around how much we can focus, whether or not there are things that are also interfering with focus. So be gentle with yourself. First off, that's my first piece of advice, right? Is for us to really be gentle. Secondly, this racing thought piece. So it's great that you're doing meditation, because that's one of the ways that I definitely helped. And I just kept at it because my racing thoughts kept coming. And so I felt like meditation wasn't working. So just keep at it, because it is going to make a difference. It's going to be like, it's all of this practice is now making a difference, and it's slow and steady, but that you're doing it is really great. So my trick that I will share, when I first realized that I interrupted people often, that's one of the things that we want to really work on. And it's always from a place of benevolence, right? It's never malicious. It's fully from this place where you're trying to just help, right? And you know that what you have to share is like, it's the gold nugget that's going to make a difference, right? And it's also, it really is from this place of love, right? I'm never doing it from a place of meanness ever, or like I want to cut someone off. It's funny, I'm on holiday with my sister, and we are twins that are not born at the same time. And we finish each other's sentences all the time. So I think from a really young age, we've always done that. And so I think I learned that as if that's a normal thing. Do you know what I mean? With people. But of course, that's not how I don't have that connection with other people where I actually can do it. And she's like, yeah. And then she does it for me. And I'm like, yeah, like we actually can tell what each other are thinking somehow. So one of the things I did, so EFT is tapping is a way to tap into your nervous system, right? And so one of the points is here on the pinky side of your hand, and you just tap like this. Just here, you can do it in your face, but obviously when you're talking to someone, you're not going to be like this here or whatever. So I do this because you can't see me doing it. So if I am having a difficult time focusing, I will tap on my hand here on the side, and it helps me. It's somewhere to focus, right? First off, because you're doing an action. And I do it low, obviously, and it just reminds me, I've associated it with not interrupting. So sometimes with my husband, when we're in a really, big conversation where I really have to give him the space to speak, and I want to just interject because that's probably one of the places where I react the most, I do that. So I just tap on my hand, and it just calms me down, and it helps me to get a little stiller, and it helps me to remember my job right now is to listen. So I've really associated it with this listening piece, and I don't even have to do it anymore for the whole time I'm talking. I mean, the whole time he's talking, I do it now, just as a like, okay, yeah, get back, like lean back, stop needing to talk. Do you know what I mean? So don't lean into like having it's my turn now, and it just halts me. So I've practiced that for a long time. So that's my little, try it. It could be that you just tap your leg. It could be anything you want, but that's an actual spot where we connect to our nervous system. Does that help a little bit? Yeah, thanks, Penny. Beautiful. Magic Penny. Any other questions around listening? It's really it's really worth working on. Number 4, celebrate your unique gifts often. We all have natural gifts and talents that are unique to us. And as we nurture those gifts, we are cultivating our natural intelligence and intuition. So similar to what I shared at the beginning, where I found out that divine love and divine wisdom were part of like my makeup, at birth, when I embraced those, it changed everything for me, right? Because I then came in every way, showed up in this way of loving the world, loving myself, loving people, all of this, because love is part of me. It feels like it's one of my unique gifts, right? Compassion, all of these things that if I nurture them, they've actually become my career, right? Because I have embraced them with wholeness and with, just vigor. It's so important to me to really coach, show up here, be with my sister, my friends, my dad in the way that is from my natural gifts. So really cultivating these and being aware of them is so important. So I want us to take this minute. I know we've done it before, but it's always good to have a list that's growing in your head. I want you to take a minute and write down 3 things that are your natural gifts. And then you can put them in the chat if you want to. Things that make you special, wonderful, that you've had in you that maybe you just say, I'm just compassionate, or I'm just a good mom, or something, right? What are the things that are so special to you that you almost take them for granted, right? Could be that you're a magnificent baker, that you're incredible with numbers, that your heart is filled with love for everyone, compassion, inspiration, dance, creativity. Love those. Understanding, kind, great at my job. Yeah, good. Any other ones? Emotional intelligence. Love it. nourishing. Oh, I love that word. Beautiful. Anything else? What's amazing about these words is you're all owning these things. Artistic, amazing. Great cook, love it. Athletic, amazing. And yeah, as we own these, easy to talk to. As we own these, we're using, right? We're gaining these not from here where we could be really critical of ourselves, but from this place in our heart, in our intuition, in our gut, whatever it is that you want to call. I always point to my heart because love is my thing. So, but I think it's just this wonderful way for us to show up as our authentic self. Someone mentioned authenticity, right? When we acknowledge what we are great at, it helps us to become more interested in evolving and expanding our gifts. So when you can own this thing, you're going to start to develop it more and more and more. So, right, if you're intuitive, then you're always, the knowledge that you can bring into your being is around how can I grow that intuition, right? How do I grow? If dance is one of the things that's one of my natural gifts, I'm taking some classes. I'm gonna go to the theater and watch dance and immerse myself in it so that it fills me up, right? And makes me expand my gift, which is part of how wisdom works. Anyone else? Are there more? I'm sure I missed some. Because I love intuitive. Yeah. I think there was one that was said motivator,
Yeah,
math
curious,
skills.
observant, creative.
Yeah.
These are amazing. Math skills, easy to talk to. Yeah.
Awesome. I love the energy of everyone putting them out there too, right? That you are sharing them, right? Gives them energy. It's amazing. Growing, becoming a better person each day. Poetic. Love it. Right? And so again, things like what are you doing to expand that each and every day? Even if it's nothing to do with your job or your everyday life, are you writing poems? Are you dancing for a minute each day? Are you doing some sort of math game so that you can work on your math skills? Or do you have a job where math, it floats your boat all the time? Do you know? Like, do you get to use it? So these are the things we want to be thinking about. How can we expand that? Amazing. Whoops. Number 5, be a creative thinker. So we all know that we have creativity. We've heard that all our life. We're sort of born with creativity. It's really how we use it. When we're kids, we're very creative. And then slowly but surely, we start to judge ourselves based on external things. And so it shrinks for many people. Creative thinking is a little bit different, but we all have it as well. It's really about seeing the big picture, being innovative, exploring new ideas, and searching for challenges. So it's like mind gym, you know, it's instead of it being just about the arts or, it's part of it for sure, but it's really about what our thought process is like, right? When we think outside of the box, we are developing skills that promote resilience. We are capable of having big vision for our life, and we're really expressing ourselves well, right? So what's powerful about creative thinking is it gets us out of the autopilot and into, that idea of asking questions, exploring, that curiosity that we talked about. It's really connected to that beginner's mindset, right? It's about not needing your ideas to be stagnant, right? All of these things. Thinking in this way is not limited to those that are highly intelligent or high achievers. Creative thinking is cultivated through daily practices. And some of these are like reading, writing and developing ideas, So you could have like a ideas journal. I have a list on my phone called the Great List. And it's where I put all of the things that kind of, you know how things just come into your brain and then you don't write them down and you're like, what was that thing? Those are like, I feel like those are like, you know, little inspiration wisps that come in. Whoo, and if we do something about them, bam, that's amazing. And if we don't, they just go out and then they're in someone else's brain. I always think of it like that. So I write them down. Every single thing that comes to me, I have this list and I just write it down. And some of them I do nothing with, and some of them have made me where I am today, right? So it's just this opportunity to take those ideas that kind of just float in and actually give them some substance by writing them or talking about them, somehow developing them. Brainstorming is another way that we can cultivate creative thinking. So the one thing I love about brainstorming, I remember even in like grade 7, I had a teacher who was very much taught us how to be creative and critical thinkers. And when we brainstormed, one of the things that always stuck with me is there's no silly answers, right? So you could have a problem or a question and you could say anything. Like it didn't matter what you said, it went on the board. He wrote down everything. And sometimes there were like the standard kind of like easy things to think about answers. And then the outlying things, the things that were kind of like, you know, ooh, that's outside there, you know, those ended up being the best ideas, the best solutions, the best way to solve things, right? So brainstorming with another person or just writing things down. So, you know, I love jot notes, right? And so just jotting down all the things that you say are so, or think, or it is another really cool way with it, especially with another person. And then exploring new things. Creative thinkers expand their, you know, what they see and do all the time. So explore, be an explorer, right? This curiosity piece is such a huge part because it stops us from feeling like just what's in front of us in these little blinders is all there is, right? It allows us to expand our view of everything. Any questions around that one? Okay. Number 6, learn from challenges. Our challenges are opportunities to learn. Everything is an opportunity to learn, really, but our challenges are especially rich with opportunity to learn, right? And so it may not be in the exact moment, but I can tell you for sure that when I was going through depression and a divorce, those are the things that have catapulted me to where I am today, because I didn't just take those as things that happened to me, but I decided that they were there to teach me stuff, right? What could I learn from those experiences? Not about my ex, not about the world around me, but about me, right? What could I learn about myself? I learned so much. I learned right off the bat that I had more strength and courage than I ever thought I did, right? I learned that I could get through things that felt impossible at the time and that they're not actually impossible. They just feel impossible in the moment. I learned that I was an incredible mom who absolutely put my kids at the top of my list, right? I learned my core values deeply at that time, you know, that what things were really important to me. I learned how to practice gratitude. There were so many things that I learned out of those challenges, right? When something is difficult and you stay unconscious to the possibility to learn something from it, you are stuck in a pattern that is not serving you. And you're going to just keep being in that, right? Yeah. Thanks, Linda. So I just want you to hear that. When we don't learn from our challenges, we're going to get stuck in that pattern and they're just going to keep showing up for us. We've all experienced that, where we have old things that resurface and you're like, why is this here again? And it's so that we can learn, right? The more you choose to see every challenge as growth, the wiser you get and the better your life feels. I promise you that. You're able to use those lessons to shift old unconscious patterns to conscious, healthy, happier ones, right? There's this opportunity to get out of autopilot default thinking when we learn from those things that make us feel like life is just hard for us, right? And when we learn what those things are, that's when we can start to make changes. And when we make those changes purposefully, right, consciously, mindfully, that's when our life starts to go in the direction that we want and deserve. So that's where you start, right? When you want to make change, the place to start is in your challenge. How are challenges showing up for me, and how am I interacting with my challenge? What is my response every time to something that's difficult? How am I, showing up for myself? Do I have self-compassion? Am I aware of how I'm showing up in this moment? Am I accepting things or resisting things? Am I confident, or do I have lots of self-doubt? And all of those things start to unwind and untangle. And that's how we start to get wiser and wiser about how to show up the next time, right? How to interact with our life the next time. All right. Number 7, be self-loving. No surprise there for me. Wisdom is squashed by fear and negative self-talk. Wisdom is squashed by fear and by our ruminating thoughts. Our inner critic creates doubt about our worth and deservedness. It makes us focus on external things as a way to judge ourselves and our successes, and it halts us from seeing ourselves as good decision makers, right? And so as we focus more on loving ourselves, oh, I'm frozen. Am I frozen to you guys?
Just do
Yes.
video, Carla. We can still hear you.
Okay, once I turn off my video, it's a pretty terrible way of me freezing. Anyway. Should I turn off my video and you just hear my voice? I think maybe.
Yeah, if
Maybe.
you want to try that.
Yeah, it won't come back on, no, I don't think. Okay, so where was I? So just, as we focus more on loving ourselves deeply, those fears and harsh thoughts and beliefs are quieted, right? And as they are quieted, we become stronger and more joyful and more trusting of our own wisdom. It's just this wonderful opportunity for us to really practice all of those things that I call the pillars of self-love, because they amplify our ability to make great decisions for ourselves and trust ourselves. So, I've talked about them already. There are things like having self-acceptance, self-awareness, self-confidence, self-care, self-compassion, and self-worth. And the more we develop those selves, those pieces of ourselves, the less fear we have about trying new things or being bold, right? And the less those ruminating inner critic, harsh, negative thoughts are present. Number 8, and this is the last one: meet new people, do new things. Meet new people, experiences, and new things. What is it? It's meet new people and experience new things. That's actually what it is, right? Expanding your horizons will with diverse perspectives, different people in new places and situations broadens your viewpoint of the world around you. That just makes sense, right? That the more you look to see new things, try new things, be in new situations, the wiser you get, because you're just experiencing things from a different perspective. When we expose ourselves to new ideas and opinions, we become more open and accepting. One of the things I love about Brene Brown, who is a researcher in in sociology and one of my mentors, is that, so she had this situation with Spotify because they were sharing a podcast of a person who she didn't trust and didn't like their opinions of. And she was trying to decide whether or not to keep her podcast there. And I think one of the things that she does beautifully is she's open to listening to all sorts of perspectives before she makes a decision. And it's one of the most powerful things we can do. Instead of being stuck in our rigid thinking and only our opinion is right, and only this way of belief is okay, and everything outside of that is nonsense or wrong, right? Because we get entrenched in that. And then it's really hard to get out of that trench, right? So when we're open to hearing others' perspectives, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to change our belief system, but it does give us the opportunity to be compassionate, to have empathy, to resolve conflict, to do all of these things from a much higher level place, right? Than if we just say, you're wrong. That's wrong. This is, I can't do that, right? Instead, I'm going to think about it. I'm going to open myself up to why do they have those feelings, right? All of those kinds of things. Wisdom is not only knowledge, it is allowing for the possibility that knowledge can continually be expanded and that we are growing through our experiences all the time, right? And that's what wisdom really is to me, that we are always expanding and growing. Okay, I'm going to try and turn on my video. If it doesn't, Penny, I'm going to come in and out. And so I'll be right back if it doesn't let me, and then we can open up for some questions. So it gives you a minute to think of your questions. Okay, hang on just a sec. Yeah, okay, I'll be right back.
You're just on mute, Carla.
Yay, okay.
Yay, you're back.
All right, thank you guys for your patience there. Does anyone have any questions around wisdom or want to share their experiences? This is your opportunity. What was something that like struck you as like, oh, that's something that that sparked something for you to do or act on? Go ahead. Maria, go ahead. Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning.
I had an aunt who was pretty much the eldest person in our family.
Mhm.
Everybody adored her. And when she passed away, I tried to figure out why she was so beloved by everyone.
Mhm.
And one thing I remember about her is she hated to gossip. It was one of those golden rules for her. She'd always say, oh, you guys always sit around and chew the fat. So, and another thing was she listened really closely.
Mhm.
Mm.
That's beautiful. Those are beautiful things, right? And I think one of the wonderful things when you are around wise people, it gives you an opportunity to really take in what characteristics that they have, and then start to implement them, right? And so that gift of your aunt giving all of your family this idea that it is, I don't want to speak about other people, you know, and listening deeply gets us like thinking about, oh, if that's what beloved feels like, I'm going to add that in a little bit, right? And so I'm sure that she influenced people in your family to, or maybe just you as you share it now, and all of us as you've shared it, right? Like that's her legacy. So that's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing it. Gorgeous. Go ahead. I think it's Nina. I'm not sure. Is it? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm incognito.
That's fine. Sorry.
Thank you. So I guess what struck me is the bit about learning from challenges.
Mhm.
And one thing that along the way I decided is a challenging situation becomes just that, and it can or can stay with you and become even worse than when it first happened, unless we can turn it around or try to turn it around and get the lessons from it, and then it becomes a blessing.
Love it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Challenges give us this opportunity to really get into how we're going to work with this thing, right? So it can be through acceptance, because sometimes we can't change things, right? Sometimes the challenges are with us for life, right? And so we have to learn acceptance. And so that's the lesson, to accept deeply. Sometimes we can do something to make it different. And so then that's the lesson. I had the resolve, the courage, the strength, the resilience to actually change it, right? Sometimes we look back on challenges and realize, oh, if we could make it through that, we can make it through this thing, right? Because it's not anywhere near as serious as that. Or these little challenges gave me, the courage to face this bigger one. So many things we can learn from them. Thanks, Nina. I appreciate that. Anyone else? Oh, sorry. Anyone else? What other things felt like? Bro, go ahead.
So I have another one to add, and this was basically on I think Marie's what she just shared about her aunt. I know a lady, she's in her 70s, and she just seems to be so full of life. She lost her husband a few years ago, and yet she's just full of life and always kind of a real spark of joy in all the gatherings. And I'm just thinking, wow, it's just so amazing. And how does she do it? And I actually, a group of us got together, and she was there yesterday, and we had lunch, and she was just so generous with her attention and her compliments, and also just talking about really fun, sort of uplifting stuff. And she had gone down to Florida, where the culture is different from where we are. And she was talking about, and of course here there's a lot of differences in opinion, especially regarding politics, and that yet she was so open and accepting of everyone's view, and saying, well, how do you know that you're right and they're wrong? And she just, like, that idea of gossip and sort of putting other people down, she just like made it like, just accept what is, and enjoy it. So those were just, I was like, wow, I'll see what I can do to sort of emulate her in some of her ways.
I love that. And it sounds as though so much of what her work has been is to look at the world from the inside out, right? Instead of the outside in. And so she's really good with herself. And so she shows up as from that place where she can be a spark of joy, where she can really, focus on positivity. And I loved that when you said she's generous with her attention and her compliments, right? It's not, she doesn't need it to be about her. She's absolutely thrilled to be able to give to other people. All of that is wisdom, right? So as we get really caught in it being about knowledge and smartness, and it's not. It's about how we really show up as our true self. Do you know? Love that. Thank you. Larissa wrote something that I wanted to read. Or Penny, can you see it?
Yeah. So Larissa said what you just shared, Carla, about some challenges being lifelong, so that the focus then is on acceptance. So that really resonated.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Yeah. I think that's one of the things that's I've really learned from some really beautiful, wise people who have lost their, fight with cancer, say. And I've been really privileged to be with them on their journey as they're going through that last part of their life and are quite young, and they have so much wisdom because they have accepted what is and decided to be grateful for their life. It is so powerful, right? They are optimistic and they feel whole, and they've stopped comparing themselves to anyone. And because it's like this, they've been given, this wisdom pill. I don't know what it is. It's just incredible to watch. And I feel really privileged that I've been able to be on that journey with people so that you really could feel what it's like to accept. Acceptance is such a huge part of this process of challenge. Go ahead, Laura.
I'm just struggling with the idea of saying I have wisdom, because it sounds like something, Solomon was wise,
Right.
or
Yeah. Yeah.
You're talking about, people who are facing death have wisdom, or other people have wisdom. How do you come to say out loud, I have wisdom?
Right. So that's the mantra for today, right? I'm growing wiser each day, right? You start there, that you start to notice. So what are you doing what are some of the things that we've talked about today that are that you can absolutely embrace? Like, my natural gifts are these things. And how can you celebrate those things? I'm picking up the next book at the library. That is something I'm really interested in. I'm going to try something new. Wisdom is, made up of these pieces that are not just about, that are not about judgment, right? About what you know and what you don't know, and, whether or not you can speak to a crowd or not speak to a crowd, right? So it's not about the judgment piece, about how your wisdom is shared with the world, right? Instead, it's about, just this, it's just from this inside place, your intuition, your, it's your authenticity coming out, right? Being open, having self-awareness. How do you have compassion at a deep level? Are you showing kindness to people? Do you examine yourself? All of these things, that's what wisdom is. So the big thing is maybe redefine what wisdom means to you, right? Instead of it being something that's like unachievable or high up here or only for a particular set of people or a particular person, what is it that what are the characteristics that I share? So we talked about listening instead of speaking, patience, courage. The wise people think before they speak. They have boundaries. They have integrity. They're expansive. They're generous, authentic. They have a wide range of experiences. There were other things there. What parts of those do you have? How can you use that as your new definition?
Thank you,
You know?
Carla.
Yeah, thanks, Laura. Good question. All right. Whew. It's almost 10. I just want to thank you guys so much for being here with me today. And this topic's really so powerful, I think, in terms of just being able to think of this as like part of my expansive life journey. As I develop and want new things, this is a really big part of it, right? To trust your wisdom, trust yourself so that you can grow in a way that's not based on outside things, outside sources, but really from your own belief about how good you are, what you deserve, how you love yourself, right? Okay, we're here again next Monday. I wish you all a beautiful, thank you. That's so sweet. Thank you. We really do. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a blessing. And we're seeing, so just, I'm away right now with my sister, and we are seeing our dad for the first time through the pandemic. So it's been just lovely. We got to see him for the first time last night, and it's just joyful. So he's really wise too. So I feel like very lucky. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your week. Enjoy whatever it is that you're excited to be doing, and I'll see you soon. Take good care of yourself. Bye. Thanks. She does.